Hello, great people. African traveler here once again. And today we are deep diving into a tough but important conversation on what Nairobi is failing behind on and the urgent gaps the city must address. We'll break down the major areas where the city is lagging behind and explore the real causes behind this slowdown and unpack insights that might be uncomfortable but necessary. The revelation may sting a little, but hopefully they spark conversation, reflection, and ultimately meaningful change for the Nairobi of tomorrow. Nairobi is on an inspiring journey to establish itself as Africa's de facto capital, but faces greater competition from emerging powerhouses like Addis Ababa and Kigali, as well as renowned cities such as Cape Town, Cairo, Johannesburg, and Casablanca. Nairobi boasts one of the fastest growing skylines in Africa, reflecting its potential. However, its horizontal infrastructure lags behind due to slow urban regeneration and beautification efforts, poor city management, and lack of political will at the county level exacerbate these challenges. To solidify its position as Africa's capital, Nairobi must prioritize and effectively execute major urban projects that enhances mobility, increases green spaces, and upgrade infrastructure. Notable examples from other cities include Addis Ababa Beautifying Shega initiative. This is a transformative project aimed at rehabilitating polluted rivers and urban spaces, creating parks and mitigating erosion using traditional methods. Nairobi should also borrow a leaf from Kigali's cleanliness and beautification efforts. Known for its clean and safety, Kigali continuously beautification project enhances its appeal as a vibrant cultural hub. Also an inspiring project, Nairobi should also borrow a leaf from Luanda in Angola, Waterfront transformation project. Angola's capital revamped its waterfront with a large urban park that includes green spaces and walking paths. We also have Casablanca City Beautification campaign, enhancing building aesthetics. Casablanca features picturesque streets and vibrant coastal views. And finally, we can also borrow a leaf from Egypt. Egypt's new administrative capital, a massive urban development project aimed at reducing congestion in Cairo, introducing new infrastructure and showcasing futuristic living. As Nairobi strives to become Africa's capital, it must learn from these successful initiatives. Collaborative efforts and innovative practices will allow Nairobi to emerge as a beacon of progress in Africa's urban landscape. The Nairobi County government has implemented a new zoning policy to remove height restrictions on buildings, aiming to accommodate the projected population growth of over 10 million by 2050. This policy change allows for higher construction in many areas, but face legal challenges requiring transparency in its implementation. The city is transforming rapidly, whether in Eastlands, Westlands, Upper Hill, Kilimani, or the suburbs. Its skyline is increasingly defined by higher-rise buildings, replacing once dominant bungalows. Presently, Nairobi is the second African city with the most skyscrapers, trailing only behind Johannesburg. This vertical growth signifies economic ambition and population growth, positioning Nairobi as a regional business and technology hub. However, this rapid expansion presents challenges. The vertical development has outpaced horizontal infrastructure, roads, utilities, school, and public spaces. Zoning laws have been revised to allow for a denser development. Neighborhoods are now grappling with severe traffic congestion, strained utilities, including water shortages, reduced green spaces, high demand on schools and healthcare facilities. While Nairobi's impressive skyline signals growth, it raises an essential question: can the city balance growth with livability? How Nairobi navigates this next phase through planning, infrastructure upgrades and regulations will determine its future as a world-class urban center or a congested concrete jungle. Some of the promising projects underway include Nairobi River Regeneration Project, a multi-billion shilling initiative launched in 2025 to clean and revitalize polluted rivers, expanding sanitation and creating public spaces. We also have the Green Park Underpass, expanding similar projects to alleviate traffic in high congested areas. Beautification projects by the county government around the CBD, an ongoing initiative aimed at enhancing the city center aesthetics and appeal. By learning from these endeavors and embracing innovation, Nairobi can position itself as a leading urban center in Africa's growth story. Nairobi's greatest disappointment has been the very people entrusted to run it. From dirty streets and collapsing infrastructure to chaotic public transport, the city leadership has consistently fallen short. Governor Johnson Sakaja is simply the latest to inherit and worsen this long-running curse. In a country where incumbency almost guarantees re-election, it is remarkable that no Nairobi governor has ever secured a second term since its implementation in 2013, and judging by today's realities, that trend is unlikely to change in 2027. Sakaja's administration has been engulfed by allegations of graft, financial indiscipline, and poor performance. He narrowly survived an impeachment attempt September 2025, rescued only by the State House influence and the intervention of the late Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Today, with deteriorating sanitation, collapsing roads, and worsening service delivery, President Ruto has hinted at repeating the same drastic situation the former president took of creating an mess.
No longer a whispered concern, Nairobi, the city under the sun, is choking under heaps of uncollected garbage, filthy streets, and creeping sense of
in the field. We're in the final stages of signing an agreement with the private sector on how we are going to clean this city. It cannot continue the way it is.
Hela zilikuwa hazitoshi. Tuko na mpangilio dhabiti sasa, kwa sababu vijana wakikota takataka weke kando ya barabara ikauke, unapata.
Over the past 2 decades, Nairobi has expanded outwardly. Westlands, Upper Hill, Mombasa Road, Eastleigh, Kilimani, South B and South C, all these places have transformed into bustling districts dotted with skyscrapers. Yet, infrastructure has not kept pace. Roads, water system, drainage, pedestrian pathways, and public spaces remaining hopelessly outdated. Westlands, now practically a mini city by itself, is the clearest example. Massive vertical growth with minimal horizontal planning. A visionary governor could turn it into a model urban district, removing unnecessary perimeter walls, creating large green public spaces, enhancing walkability and proper paths and with waterways, relocating power lines underground, collaborating with national government on an underpass at the Westlands roundabouts, introducing strict modern bylaws for an orderly development within the district. Such a model could then be replicated across Nairobi's major districts. So this is actually a governor who has lost the bigger picture. A quick look at the governor's social media pages tells you a troubling story. A leader unsure of his own job description, endless photos of football matches, school feeding programs, rallies, presidential rallies, and minor road repair that dominates his page. These activities are not irrelevant, but they are not the core business of the Nairobi governor. Instead, Nairobi leader should be championing investments, pitching the city globally, courting large-scale partners, and pushing for mega projects that redefine urban living. The now infamous request for chapati machine that makes 1 million chapati a day, captures the lack of ambition starkly.
Sasa ndapika chapati 1,000,000. Nitaomba rais anisaidie na machine ya kutengeneza chapo, si ndio hiyo?
Governors you are not doing us a favor. I want to address our good governor of Nairobi. I can see you have totally lost focus. The purpose of the governor of Nairobi is not to feed people. The purpose of the county government of Nairobi is to open up the economy of Nairobi. Mr. Speaker, the governor of Nairobi should not be talking about chapatis. He should be talking about underpasses, overpasses, metros. That is the future. The people you'll employ in those areas I've mentioned will feed their children.
Nairobi desperately needs leaders willing to pursue long-term transformative projects, especially those that requires collaboration with private sector of the national government. For example, waste to energy incineration. Kenya still lacks a single large-scale incinerator since we got independence. A modern plant handling more than 1,500 tons of waste per day would cost between an averagely of $400 to $600 million. So through government partnership, investors or PPP model, such a project will change the waste management, clean up landfills and generate extra power for the city to use and also make more income from it. Another project would be the modern mass transit. The city urgently needs trams, trains and subways, and these are projects the governor should be looking for ways and ideas and how to invest in such. And we know matatu sector, garbage collection, and water supply remains controlled by untouchable cartels. A partnership model where government builds the rail line and the SACCOs come up with commuter carriages or vice versa and becomes a win-win, creating a clean, orderly and efficient transport system. Will every administration keep creating NMS of sorts? The bigger question, do we still need governors for major cities in the country? When governors lack vision, courage, or the will to confront powerful cartels, Nairobi suffers. Or should we adopt a specialized centrally backed urban government authority? A professionally city management unit free from political pressure could finally deliver what politicians fear to touch: clearing hawkers from CBD, or fixing the garbage collection, reforming water supply, regulating the matatu industry, and implementation of strict urban planning. These areas carry a lot of population, and any wrong way of touching it can affect the governor's re-election promise. But at this point, Nairobi doesn't just need a leader. It needs a competent, ambitious, and long-term plan. And for far too long, that has been missing. Governors frequently complain about insufficient budget to run counties effectively. But when you look at it deeply, especially at counties like Nairobi, you quickly realize that the real issue is misplaced priorities. It raises the question, how would some of these leaders run their own companies if this is how they manage public resources? No business can sustainably operate with revenue of 1 million per month and a wage bill of 1.5 million. This is just an example. How would you generate 1 million a day and your wage bill is 1.5 million? Yet this is the reality for several counties in Kenya, Nairobi being the most notable one. New data shows that wage paid to Nairobi County's employees surged to 17.3 billion, and that is as of June 2025, from just 6 billion in 2022 to 17 billion, that is wage bill. This sharp escalation in the wage bill explains the county frequent salary delays to an extent of seeking loans to just pay them off. A special audit by the Auditor General Nancy Gathongo reveals that this spike is tied to ballooning staff numbers from 5,777 to 16,321 employees between 2022 and 2025. That is almost 3 times. As a result, the county salary burden is severely constraining funds available for development projects. Nairobi, like many counties, relies heavily on national government support, making its high recurrent expenditure even more sustainable. Revenue collection in Nairobi has risen modestly, reaching 12.1 billion, up from 10 billion in the previous years, yet still far below the pace of growth in wage and operational cost. Across the country, the situation is not much better, and I'll be taking you guys through it bit by bit. This is a county spending trends in the financial year 2023-2024. counties spend 337.5 billion on recurrent expenditure compared to 109.2 billion on development. 76% of the total county spending went to recurrent expenses, salary, benefits, operation and maintenance. Salary and benefits alone account for 47% of all the county government spending, amounting to 209.8 billion. Counties with the highest salary benefit spending in 2023-2024 financial year. Number 1 is Nairobi, 14.8 billion. And remember, this is 2023-2024. Kisii, 1.7, Kakamega, 3.7, Mandera, 3.7, Kilifi, 3.4, Nyamira, 3.3, Turkana, 3.3, Uasin Gishu, 3.2. And during my analysis of more I'll be sharing later, I will really also wish for Kisii and Nyamira to look at what is really happening there. Operation and maintenance spending in the same year is as follows. This is spending on services such as medicine, fuel, utilities, and vehicle maintenance continues to rise. Nairobi spent 13.7 billion, which is the highest. Kiambu followed at 13.1 billion. Nakuru, 9 billion. Mombasa, 8.6 billion. Machakos, 8 billion. Kakamega, 7.4. And Kilifi, 7.3. Facility Improvement Fund revenue. This is now revenue. This is money you get from the facility within the county. In terms of hospital revenue, total FIF collection across counties stood at 24.6 billion. And Kiambu was the leading in terms of revenue collection, especially from the huge number of hospitals. The collection they managed to do 1.8 billion. Nakuru did 1.78 billion. Kisumu was the third, 1.66 billion. And finally, Nairobi was the fourth at 1.4 billion, the biggest city. And for example, a county like Kiambu, the governor multiplied the amount of revenue collected over the 2024, and in 2025 is actually higher. They're already at 5-point-something billion compared to Nairobi, which is at 12, with almost 4 or 5 times the number of employees. And that begs the question, like, how does some of our governors run these counties? It raises a lot of questions. It raises a lot of accountability issues. But revenue collection has improved in some counties. Development spending has remained stagnant. Meanwhile, salaries and operational costs have grown at an alarming rate, with little evidence of improved service delivery. This imbalance raises a fundamental question. If counties cannot prioritize development today, what future are they building? It is time for national government to consider constitutional or legislative measures to enforce spending caps, especially on wage bill, operation and maintenance, as well as other recurrent costs. Clear percentage limits would help revise the trend of a runway recurrent expenditure. Without such measures, counties will continue to spend most of their budget on maintaining bloated payrolls, while development projects, the backbone of the economic growth, remains underfunded. I wouldn't want to say much, but there's a lot our governors are not doing right, and our leadership that needs to be changed. Because in as much as we can see some change, trust me, the change we see needs to be expedited. And it can be easily expedited with strong measures, strong control, and strong accountability. So it's upon us to take our charge and ask our governors questions. And this is the only way we will see a greater nation. We'll see better investment decisions and better improvement of our quality of life as citizens. So I will come to my end of our video today. And if you like, please subscribe, like, share. Don't forget to support the channel in whatever way you can. Peace out and have a good time. Thank you.